Happy Wednesday afternoon, everyone. We're halfway through a first week of April, and we sure appreciate that you're spending some time with us this afternoon to see what's new in Student Manager, version 74, and ACEweb, version 53. I have Matthew, Stein, and Jason with me today, and they'll be giving you a glance at what you'll receive when you install these newest versions. As I turn things over to Matthew, I'll remind you that you can visit our ACEweb forum to get a list of all of the bug fixes and new features with this month's release. And if you want information about the forum, send me a comment in the chat box and I will help you get to that location. Also, send me any questions or comments that you have in the chat box during this session and we'll get those answered for you. So Matthew, I'm turning things over to you. I'm seeing your screen just fine. Show us what's new with Student Manager this month.
Well, thank you. And since we're talking about the forum, and I think this has been in several builds now, but new features button will take you right out to the forum. We've also got the forum listed underneath the help menu, so you don't have to go searching through our website to find it. You can access it directly from Student Manager. First one, or the first feature I'm going to show, this was just a small change to report statistics tracking codes. I'm just going to modify the default is fine. I don't care about the money. Begins with 19. All right, and if I pull up the data environment here, the new item I think is about 2/3 of the way down here. Oh, near the bottom. RG Creator. We've had RG User in here forever, definitely before me. But RG Creator, we realized that wasn't in here, so needed to add it for somebody's needs, so it is now in there. So I'll get out of here. Next one, this one wasn't quite as easy, but it's kind of fun. If I pull up a good course here, where's I'm trying to think, good example. I think my app dev courses have several sessions. Well, let me get, here we go. 6 sessions that will become apparently important here in a second. New thing here is the copy to clipboard button, and I'm just going to hit it real quick and pull over my notepad here. And this, for the purposes of what the person requesting this wanted, they wanted to paste into email the data from the room use, but I'm just going to use this notepad to bring in, course little bit course information, session count going down the left side, and then details about each and every session as far as date, times, and location. Presumably this would be then sent to maintenance or building coordinators or what have you, people that need to know what locations are being taken when. So easier for you to do this. Obviously you could export out of a report, but hey, this saves you a step or two. So let me get out of here. The next thing is with a preference. So go into preferences, course. Is it course? Yes, down here at the bottom. And this is a global preference, so you'll need to make sure you have everybody else out if you're wanting to utilize this. But fill in the course minimum with a go, no-go value. This is for those of you that are using Budget Builder. So let me go back. I think that one is the example I need with the dev course. Okay, so I've got course minimum here of 1. Now if I go out here to Budget Builder and start doing some things, let's see, import some fees, maybe put in a couple estimates here, 2 and 2, add per person expense, I don't know, blah. For $200, maybe, actually, let's make it a little more expensive. This is a fairly pricey course, so let's do $1,200. Now, if I refresh this, maybe, it helps if I put in numbers, and I'm still not getting it. Go, no go. Profit. Oh, my expense is more than my profit now. Helps if I do math in my head. Okay, now refresh. I'm still not getting it. Okay, I'm consulting my notes here, seeing what I'm doing wrong here. Oh, that's per number of, okay, hold on. That's why. Per number, refresh. And I still don't have a go, no go. Okay, hold on. Do I need to add? Refresh. Well, that's getting me somewhere. 450? Come on. 450. Refresh. Okay. And then do instructor of 250, 1250. Sorry. And I think I make this sunk. Now. Nope. Program. Refresh. Okay, there we go. Go, no go is 4.3. So now if I hit OK, close, it's going to round up to 5 because you can't have 0.3 of a person, so you actually don't start making money until the 5th person. So that's why it rounds up to 5. And sorry I floundered my way through this. I thought I had notes straight in my head of what I was going to do here, and I just started floundering instead of following my notes, and shouldn't have done that. So anyway, we got there. We got there in the end. All right, so that's with that. Next one is mass grouping. This is with the find names. Actually, the person locator, also known as find them. F5, as Chuck always points out, the F key, F5. The new thing is right down here. Actually, there's a couple new things on the screen, but I'm going to show first the mass grouping tool down here at the bottom. Check mark this. So if I do my last name of Jones, because I have several in my demo here, say OK. Instead of the normal find screen the normal screen that shows the names, it instead brings up a checkmark box list. So this lets me choose, okay, Deborah, Eric, and Tom, they're all in the same family, even though I have them at different addresses. But anyway, they're all in the same family. I want to group them together. I can say done here. And this is kind of a confirmation that it's done it. It's grouped those 3 names together. It also brings this box up so that if you want to change the primary to Tom or Eric here, you can do that, make primary. So now Tom is the primary in the group instead of Deborah. Also, if there's any mistake you made, you could delete a name out of the grouping here. But anyway, that allows you to do that. Other thing with F5, we noticed that it would be a lot more powerful if we could change these ORs condition, especially for those of you that have 1,000,000 Jones in your database and not just 3 like in mine. And I'm going to do city, Manhattan. So by default, if I do Jones or Manhattan, that's going to bring up a whole list of everybody that's named Jones, or the city is Manhattan. Not quite as good. I want to narrow things down. So that's where we can switch to a AND. So Jones, and I hit the OR right before city. That switches it to an and I can do Manhattan. Again, say OK, and it just gives me the one person that met both those criteria, because an and you have to meet both criteria. So Tom Jones, Manhattan, Kansas. So that's a new thing with the person locator, and that's not just with the mass grouping. That's using it as you would normally to help you find exactly who you're looking for. Okay, the next change is with the invoice module. Module, invoices. I'm just going to bring up, whoa, where's my invoice? Oh, hold on, I went to the wrong one. Module, invoices, all invoices. And I've got 2 in here now. Okay. Bring up 1, view invoice detail. What's new is over here is being able to output and now also be able to email that output. So if I want to do PDF, I'm not going to do the email routine. I'm just going to do PDF. I don't need to modify. Default report is fine. Go ahead and hit print invoice here. Close down the preview. And this is going to take just a second or 2 or 3. Oh, it opened up on my other screen. Hold on. Let me bring it over here. So the PDF gets generated now. I can save this where I want to save it and be able to do whatever I need to do with it in PDF format or Word or whatever other format you need that in. So, okay, invoices. Next one is fees, and I'm going to show you real quick in course. Under the course, I have used number of days for fees. Fee expires. You could use the date instead, but I want to show this with the number of days instead of the date, because what's different is I don't think it matters on this example. Fees. So fee expires used to be you could only put in 3 digits, but we noticed if you're wanting to do something like negative 180, you couldn't do that before. You needed a 4th digit for fee expires in order to do that. So we've gone ahead and done that. Obviously, this one doesn't have an early bird fee; it's just got the registration fee. But if I added a early bird fee to do that with, you could do that. Okay, next one, and I could go right off of here. Let's just undo changes. Quick reports. I don't need all this. Let's just do a name roster. I want to modify this. Say OK. What is that? Something broke. I'll have it fixed soon. Okay, let me try to get back to course. Doesn't matter. Quick reports. And I gotta check all these again. Modify default. Okay. Let me bring in the expression builder here, and then I have this copied so I didn't have to type this all out. The new thing here, and I'm trying to highlight it there, is the stamp UNL. I don't know if you guys can see that. Maybe if I bring over my notepad here just temporarily. Stamp UNL, this is for unlimited UDFs, being able to stamp into the UDF some value or something, being able, and in this case I'm doing this in a just after to mark everybody in these courses, mark the terminal unlimited UDF with C11. I don't know what I'm doing for sure, but hey, I'm going to do that. So if I do that, say OK, close, save the designer as, let's do a stamp UNL. Done. Brings up the preview. And it fired the stamp UNL just real quick. So now if I go pull up somebody and go to additional UDFs, there's the terminal listed as C11. So this powerful tool to be able to stamp unlimited UDFs. We have all sorts of stamp functions in Student Manager for doing all sorts of other things. Chuck really wanted something for unlimited UDFs, so we've done it now. All right, next thing on my list is proper casing names. This is in data cleanup. Actually, I should bring up my look up real quick. Oh, and I need to set up my example. In this case, so I've got Butterfield Conversion has a uppercase letter in the middle of his last name. I'm going to actually pick on Wayne Amos here and do all caps on his name. Yes. Okay, close. So that way my proper case data cleanup has something to clean up. All right, so data cleanup, address cleanup, and I don't need to do missing counties. I'm just going to do proper case names. And I run that real quick. Yes, because I don't have a filter, it warned me that it was doing every single name. Well, they actually only found one name to clean up because there was only one name that was all uppercase. So Wayne Amos is back to having his name proper cased, and Butterfield Conversion has his name left alone. So I was thinking, like, if you've got McCartney or Degal or something for last names where you've got, lowercase de, uppercase G, AUL. The mix are going to be capital M, lowercase c, capital, whatever the next letter, C for McCartney. So mixed case names are going to be left alone. It's just the names, they're all lowercase, just the names, all uppercase. And this is really for those of you that are doing name imports from a spreadsheet that has, somebody was typing in all caps in your spreadsheets or something, or exporting out of a different system in all caps or all lowercase. So there's that. Last but not least, and actually I'm kind of saving the best for last, we've made a change with holidays. And if I go find holidays here, Thanksgiving Eve. I've added a new holiday in here called Thanksgiving Eve, and the reason why is I'm doing a start time for this holiday. So only night classes, or the goal is to have only night classes on Thanksgiving Eve, um, um, cycle to the next date when Student Manager calculates the new dates, because you don't want to have courses on that evening for whatever reason. So let's look at an example. I think that'll help. And the course I've been picking on, let's see, 19F. Helps if I do all courses. 19F, 11. I think it's this one. Is it this one? Room use. No, that's not going to work because it's canceled. Where is 19F? Here we go. 1125. This is the course I've been playing with. Okay, so I've got this running 1125 through 1127 at the moment, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Seeing the room use takes place Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now, if I change this to be 8 p.m., probably don't want to go, maybe do 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., refresh the schedule. Notice my end date flipped to a December date. If I go look at the room use, yes, it's fine, update. It's taking place Monday, Tuesday. It skips my Thanksgiving Eve now and my Thanksgiving holiday. So Thursday, Friday, they get off, so they come back the next Monday. And just to prove I'm not cheating, I could switch this back to 8 a.m., refresh, and it brought back the end date back to the 27th. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, that's fine. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, any questions?
I'm not seeing any. I'll give them just a second or two or three. I'm not seeing any questions. Matthew, thank you for those updates. Jason, I'm going to turn things over to you and Sign so you can share a little bit about what's happening with the new version of ACEweb.
Thank you, thank you. See if I can get my screen shared here. Let me know when you're seeing it.
We see it.
Awesome. Okay, so yes, ACEweb Build 53 is finally here. The most anticipated build of ACEweb ever. No, not really, but we were kind of pushing the boundaries as far as how long we could go between builds. Stein got some much needed, much deserved vacation time in there, so that's one of the reasons it got pushed back and delayed. Many bug fixes in this build, of course, and we're not going to cover those today, but you can find those on our forum once we make the post. The intrepid users out there might be thinking to themselves, Jason said that this one was out, but I'm subscribed to the forum and I have not got my email notification yet. And that is because technically it is not out until this afternoon once I push the final update up. So without further ado, let's take a look at some of the things that are going to be included in this build. One of the things is we've added support for the expanded firm field to 75 characters to match the change Matthew made in Student Manager. So with that being said, you will need to update Student Manager to at least build 70, I believe, before you do this ACEweb update. All right, so one of our new features is the ability to have substitute settings in your ACEweb INI. So let's take a look here. I'm going to go into the ACEweb INI. And by substitute settings, what I mean is it gives you the option to have kind of two different settings that you can toggle back and forth. So one of the good reasons for this would be if you have, say you're an Ollie group and you've got a certain week of the year that your registrations are just through the roof, and having your debug flag set to table would cause slowness because of just the sheer amount of stuff that it would be writing. If you don't know, setting it to table will basically log everything under the sun. So if you had a secondary setting, such as, let's do table flags, PYSRV, I believe. Maybe it's PYSRV details. So what this would do is still log it to the table, which is much faster than logging it to a text file. But it's going to say, but I only want to log details about payment services. So just the bare essentials in case something went catastrophic and you needed to look up someone's payment information, it would still be logging that, but it's not going to be logging everything. So basically you have these two separate settings here. And I don't know if I need to save that first. Let me do that and make sure that sticks. Nope, didn't like that. So PYSRV details. So all you would have to do is come in here, and right now the current setting is table. You click this swap button, submit it, and now you should have, yes, the setting is the alternate one. So really cool feature there that Stein put in. It definitely makes things easier for me because as the ACEweb tester, there are a lot of different settings that I have to flip back and forth and toggle. So very, very handy. All right, next up on our list.
The other advantage of that is that when you need to put it back, say after your heavy traffic day, then you can just go click that button again and it'll swap it back.
Yep.
And it should
another
remember.
Good example would be if you wanted to try a different setting out, like some of the I&I settings can get pretty hairy. I'm looking at you, like required fields and what is it, show schedule, things like that, to where you can really customize some of the things in that setting. So if you don't want to have to worry about the hassle of copying that somewhere and saving it in a notepad, you can just have an alternate version there. I guess I didn't really talk about how you actually do that. So what you do is edit the text version of your INI file. So you just click that edit INI text at the top. And then any setting that you want to have an alternate for, you prefix with 2 semicolons. Now, if you use 1 semicolon, then that essentially comments it out so that the INI editor is not going to read this setting at all. If you want the INI editor to view both of your main setting and your alternate setting, use 2 semicolons in front of whichever one you want to be your alternate, and then you would click Save Changes. And then you would click the Check for Substitute Settings down here. You only have to do this once, and it goes through and detects which settings have the double semicolons, and then it enables that swap checkbox for those. Okay, so all right, so next up on our list is with the HTML workshop list function. Now this is the function on the enroll card that displays your workshop information. So let's take a look at workshop course here. And so this is the course status page. And while it does have a section for workshops, this is pulled from a different area. So the function that I'm talking about doesn't actually affect this workshop information. It's just on the enroll card. So if we do enroll yourself, the next screen, when you're on your enrollment card, is where the HTML workshop list function comes into play. So the change that we made was so that it can take advantage of some nice date functions. If you don't know, nice date is a function both in Student Manager and ACEweb that turns just a normal date into a much nicer looking date. So it gives you a lot of different format options. If we want to look at some examples here. So let's search for nice dates. and you would want to use the ACEweb version. What it's going to do is it's going to allow you to use some of these options here to configure how that data is displayed. Now we're going to have the HTML workshop function updated so that in the documentation so that you can have examples to go on and things like that. But in a nutshell, it gives you much more options instead of just 4/23/2019, which in some cases people found if you didn't have dates on your workshops, the slashes would still be there and it got confusing. So some nice updates to that function there. All right, next up, we have expanded the unlimited user-defined fields to work in a few more places, such as data capture and express reg pages.
Oh.
This
Jason,
goes out, yes.
Excuse me, it already works in data capture.
Right.
That's why when it first came out, it worked in data capture
and person.awp
and the person page, and that's been since 051. But
yep.
now we can add it in a few more places.
Thank you for pointing that out. So we've expanded it to work in the express reg pages mainly, and we have to shout out to Lynn Harsh at Boise State for her persistence in keeping us on this and being the kind of guinea pig to get it tested and working. So thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Stein, for putting that in. But yes, unlimited user-defined fields on express reg pages, so you guys can go absolutely crazy now with the amount of fields that you collect for a registration. So pretty neat function there. And kind of on the same subject, one of our other related changes was regarding waitlisting on express reg pages. So Stein just recently put in support to support waitlisting on script-based express reg pages. Now, one of the advantages that this would give you would be if you want to allow a waitlist, but you're using an express reg template because there's lots of additional information that you want to collect. But normally how the waitlist routine would work, like if it was just a normal course and you had a data capture template to collect additional fields, that wouldn't come into play when the person added themselves to the waitlist. It would just collect their base information, name, email, and address. With this new feature, it's still going to allow them to fill out all the forms on the express reg template, put them on the waitlist, but then have all that information there so that if they do get moved from the waitlist to an actual registration, they don't need to contact the student and say, well, hey, there's all these 50 other fields that I need you to answer all these questions and things. So I think that's a really cool feature, and I hope you guys think it's cool too. All right. Next up is the HTML source list. If you're not sure what that is, that's basically this function right here, which is also on the enrollment card template. We have modified the behavior of this setting so that it will actually record the tracking code information for each registration that takes place, not only for just one person enrolling in 5 different courses, they can pick 5 different answers, but if they proxy register someone else, then they can choose a tracking code for their proxy registrations as well. Now, prior to this, we had kind of 2 toggles that you could use for this. You could either have it only show once per browser session. So it would ask you for the first course, but then for all the other courses that you add to your cart, that box just doesn't show up. The other way was to have it show up on all the courses, but only the last course that you picked, or basically the last choice that you picked in the source list, would be the one that got stamped to all of the registrations, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. So the change has been that we kind of removed that second option and changed it so that it will record whatever you pick for each course for the entire registration session. So that's a really cool feature if you are really big into tracking and doing statistics and things. So look for that in 53 once we get that pushed out later today. Next up is some small changes to debug viewer. So we can get to my admin page here. previously, when you would want to view a debug file and you went to your AW viewer, you would make sure you have the debug viewer checked. You would select the date that you want to view the logs for, and you would hit submit. I obviously don't have a lot of information in here for this database today, but what it would do is start you at the current time and display the next 60 minutes of log information. Now, if you're a big group and you're doing lots of registrations, 1 hour's worth of logs, depending on what your debug flag setting is, for instance, if you have it set to table, could be literally hundreds of thousands of lines of text, which could tie up your browser. It could cause it to even time out if the log was big enough. So what Stein has done is actually put a filter before you click to go to the log. You can actually choose the starting time that you want it to start at. So if you have a specific time of an issue that occurred, and then you can select if you just want 5 minutes after that, it'll just pull that little snip of the log. So this is going to be very handy, especially for us techs doing troubleshooting, to kind of narrow down and save a little bit of time there. So thank you very much for that, Stein. And then among the other things, last thing I've got here, among the other helpful things that Stein has put in for us techs is some, how would you word this, some relevant, helpful information for your students or your end users that unfortunately would get an error message. So I'm assuming and hoping that all of you right now are using the non-verbose error message. So what that means is you have two modes of error displays. There's normal and there's expanded. If you have this set to expanded, which you should only do in like initial installs, and if you're testing something and your site isn't live, that's really the only reason you should have that in expanded, because what the end user would see is something like this. And to any end user just trying to register for a course, this is like, oh, what the heck happened? So the answer is to use the non-verbose error message, which is just a simple, something went wrong, here's our contact information, please contact our office. Unfortunately, that didn't have anything really relevant to what happened. And so for certain routines, Stein has put in just a helpful message that says, your payment may not have been processed. Please call our office, blah, blah, blah. So it'll give them at least a place to start. You know, if they need to contact you, say, hey, I got an error message and it says my payment wasn't processed. Can you check on this? Yada, yada. So very, very helpful there. And that is pretty much all of the big stuff. Like I said, the bugs that were fixed are all going to be listed in the forum post. As Sharon pointed out, lots of ways to get to our forum. Subscribe to that ACEweb updates forum, and you'll get the email notifications when we do post the builds. But expect this to be out hopefully sometime within the next couple of hours. So with that said, any questions popping up?
You do have a question, and we're going to go back to your the wait list on the Express Reg. This question comes from Boise State. What, if any, modifications will be needed to the Express Reg form to use that wait list feature?
Yeah. So there are actually quite a few changes that would need to be made, and it isn't, I suppose we will eventually change our default Express registration template that you can download to include that, or at least maybe have it commented out. It will be documented in the online help, but what I would suggest is you just get with me or your tech, and then we'll give you basically the code, because it's a few chunks of code that need to go in a few separate pieces of the template in multiple areas. So it's not a super simple thing by any means to do, but yeah, we will get that documented and we will get you squared away.
Okay, very good. Well, I have several accolades that I'll share with you all. Matthew, Jason, Stein, thank you very much. Everyone, we want to remind you that our user webinar for April, we're going to be calling all keepers. And the keeper of the flame is the point of contact for the software for your institution and with ACEware. So if you're new to that position, or you just want some updates, or you want a refresher, we invite you to join us on April 18th. We announced this topic yesterday, and the registrations coming in for that are awesome. So this is going to be a great session. And we need you to get registered for conference in Vegas. We're going to have a great time, good time of learning and networking together, and we'd love to see you there. So encourage you to get that registration in. Since I'm not seeing any other questions right now, you know how to reach us. If you do think of something after this session ends, you know how to reach me, and we'll get that question answered. And we will wish you all a good Wednesday evening, and have a fabulous upcoming weekend, everyone. We will see you later in April. Bye.